Alright, this is a figure that I've been very, very excited to look at and to collect. As you can see here, I'm a big horror fan. I love Freddy, I love Jason, and I love Ash. And what do these guys do? They all fight. But I've never had the Freddy vs. Jason NECA figure until now. And here it is in all of its glory. I cannot wait to open this, so let's just skip ahead and see what this is like. And we've got Jason out. And let's take a look at some of his accessories first before I get to him. We have right here little Jason's teddy bear, which I don't really remember it being in the film that much, but I mean, it's nice of NECA to provide this. The detail on it is pretty great, the imitation of fur. Does this move? Wait a minute. Okay, I think it slightly moves. I don't think you're actually supposed to move it. But it does kind of bend a little bit, give some leeway probably to kind of wedge it into Jason's hand. I like the detail of the stuffing coming out, you can see. That's appreciated. We have two machetes. Of course, one bloody, one clean. They appear to be the same exact shape, the same hilt even. This just has some blood going through it, which it's typical, but I can't really ask for anything more. What's more interesting is we have this translucent flame effect, which you can put onto either side of the machete very easily like so. This is from a scene where Jason is set on fire and he's walking out, and one of the things that's on fire is his machete. And while this is really cool, it does make me a little upset that he doesn't come with accessories to kind of have fire around him. Maybe like his shoulders, his arms, even like to kind of clip them on. Because while I do not own the Elm Street Part 2 Freddy, I believe he came with an accessory for flames coming out that they could have easily replicated with this Jason. Of course, we have two masks. We have this one, which is my favorite. A more like decayed look for Jason, obviously clawed from Encounters with Freddy. And then we have bloody Jason, which appears to kind of trying to be like the finale of the film where Jason's just soaked in blood. And while this mask is cool, it just looks a little funny on him because, you know, it's the only part that is covered in blood. The rest of him is pretty clean. But one thing that I'll say about the accessories is I think it's a very, very big mistake that NECA did not include a severed head of Freddy from the end of the film. Which, by the way, what a great film. As you can see here, I'm quite the Friday the 13th fan. As well as Elm Street. I would have pulled out my my Elm Street Blu-ray collection. But I do consider Freddy vs. Jason to be a Friday the 13th movie that features Freddy. I don't really consider an Elm Street movie, but maybe that's a controversial opinion. I don't know. I love this film a lot. It's one of my favorite Friday the 13th films. In my opinion, Freddy wins it. And that's only because while Jason decapitates Freddy, Freddy winks, which indicates that it's a dream and that he's still alive. So that means Jason is stuck in this dream with Freddy. I really wish we could have gotten a sequel. So fun fact, actually, the original ending for the film was going to have Pinhead appear, but they couldn't get the rights for him, unfortunately. Then they were going to have a sequel with Ash. Didn't happen, but at least we got comic books for it. So I think this is a great looking figure. The only problems that I have with it really are problems that are with the design of Jason. Not necessarily NECA's fault in the figure, it's just how he looks in the film. Personally, I love this design. It's one of my favorite designs, but it does have some problems. That, of course, NECA recreates in the figure, but again, can't blame them. They're just trying to be screen accurate. So let's just take this off right here. Yeah, this is not a good look for Jason. I really strongly dislike this. If we can take a look from Part 4 Jason to compare, it's a lot more grotesque. And, well, I understand that this Jason is much older. It just looks corny. I don't know. I know the movie is corny as well, but Jason's had so many designs, and this is not my least favorite, actually. There's some worse ones. I can't really think of any off the top of my head. Probably Jason Takes Manhattan. That one Jason just looks way too wet in that film. I do love it, like that film a lot, but yeah, that design has some problems. And then also another controversial thing about this Jason are the platform boots, which I know they were trying to go for a size difference with Freddy, which we can even see here. Yeah, that's a that's a huge difference. And so part of that decision is because of they wanted the size difference. I think they were also kind of going for a Frankenstein's monster type thing with the shoes. Maybe not. Maybe it's just a coincidence because, both monsters had those shoes to make them look taller. I don't know. But at the very least, the shoes do add a lot of balance. Some of these NECA figures are a little notoriously difficult to stand. Let's see if we can get Freddy. See, like even Freddy right here is giving me trouble. Jason, see, there we go. Jason is very easy to stand. And that's, yeah, sorry about that. Jason is very easy to stand. And I think a lot of that is because of those shoes. To compare, let's see this Jason. This Jason stands very well as well. The Friday the 13th figures in general are some of my favorites that NECA does. And we can hear my cat meowing in the background. Yeah. I have 4 cats in case you're wondering. So let's take a look at what these masks look like on him. We'll start with just the bloody mask. Let's see if this looks as silly as I think it will. Yeah, I mean, like, it's cool, I guess. But without blood on the rest of him, it just looks weird. I don't know. Maybe that's just my opinion. If you get another one of these, hey, feel free to cover him in blood. I think then this mask will look great. And then let's do... This one I feel like would be my favorite. Come on. There we go. Yeah. Oh, that looks great because one thing I really like about this design is the weathering that he has, and it's recreated really, really well on this figure. This damage mask, I think, just complements that. Man, but NECA really knocked it out with the clothing here. It's like a soft plastic, similar to what they use for other figures, like, the Part 4 Jason here has like that same kind of material. I don't know if this is a controversial opinion, but I much prefer this over like actual fabric that's in a lot of other NECA figures. It just doesn't look right to me pretty much ever. The clothing just looks too big. I even have one of those for Ash. I don't like to show them in videos though, because unfortunately I did lose that Ash's chainsaw, and I mean, this one just looks much better in my opinion. But yeah, no, they did a great job with this. One thing that I didn't really like in the film is his blue shirt. It can kind of stand out a bit compared to how dark and drab everything else is about the clothing here. But the detail on here is just incredible. All of these rips and seams, the different layers of color to really make those colors pop out. This torn sleeve right here just gives it that really perfectly grungy look. You can even see it in the pants too. All those tears, those wounds. Not a lot of... it's hard to make black pants stand out in figures, and I think this Jason does an excellent job at doing that. As for articulation, we have some problems with this figure. One big thing that I really am not too big a fan of is, rather than, for example here, you can see how the joints, it's a ball joint, yes, and it's connecting from the neck to the head. So that allows him to have a lot of articulation, just all around like that. This is, I think, a ball joint as well, but the neck and the head are one piece. So I just question, why did NECA go with this? Because it just means he can barely move this thing, especially with how thick his clothing is. It doesn't offer, like, I can really stretch it back like that. I can really stretch it forward and like a little bit on the side, but you can hear the cracking as I do that. It's not very good for a figure. And while I don't think that Jason needs like crazy articulation because he's just this kind of slow, hulking menace, I just wonder why they went with that when all the other Jasons have the neck and the head as separate pieces. I mean, if you just look at him, it looks nice. It looks nice and clean. This one, I mean, it is obscured by the mask, but you can still kind of see that sharp divide. Even like the seams right there are kind of noticeable, but that's not a big deal with Jason, I think, because again, his mask just obscures a lot of that. So yeah, I question why NECA went with that. As for everything else, we have just bending knees, nice. Again, I say this in every NECA video now, but just a reminder, new NECAs, the joints are very stiff, and I highly recommend just getting a bowl of warm water and just soak them in there. If it's not too big of a bowl, just do like half in and then do another half in for about 20 seconds each side. That'll limber him up a lot, which allows me to really bend him exactly the way that I want to. I did notice something about the legs though, that while they split, it's very hard and it makes these popping noises, which I don't know, I'm always afraid of snapping the leg off when I do that. Though I don't really see why you would need to do that with Jason. Again, he's not a very limber guy, period. So if you just want to keep him at the default, hey, go ahead. I mean, he stands real easily. He does kind of lean forward, I notice, when he stands. But I think that, yeah, let's try it. What happens when I... Okay, yeah, so he stands up straight pretty well, which is great. There's a really big plus, actually, because a lot of these NECAs, it's just the balance is kind of off sometimes. This stands really well, and that's big props to NECA for that. See how wide his arms open? Yeah, good articulation on the arms. They swivel all around. I don't really know what else you can really ask for with a Jason figure. They go up. Yep, they go up, they work. And the hands swivel. Yes, but it is a little difficult. You can kind of hear creaking when I do that. But, I mean, why would you have Jason doing that? Like, I don't think anyone would. You would probably have him just kind of lunging out like this, or maybe holding the teddy bear even. Yeah, in terms of articulation, I think he's pretty good. These pants have really big cuffs, and that makes it kind of hard to really bend the foot. But again, as I keep saying, I don't think you would really want to do that much with Jason. I think just him standing straight erect is more than enough for him. So let's take a look at the accessories with him. I'm just going to be looking at these with him. I am upset a little bit that he doesn't come with a Freddy Krueger head. I think that would have really sealed the deal. But alas, at least they give him the machete. I mean, you gotta have the machete. Jason without the machete, I don't know. That's like Freddy without his glove. Having some difficulty... Okay, let's just do that. Having some difficulty fitting this machete deep in there. So you can see it has a big enough hole, I think, for the whole handle to slide through, but there we go. Okay, I just need to kind of finesse it. We can take a look at it without the flame, but I want to see it with the flame just because the flame does look really nice. And it pops on real easily, of course, like that. I really like the translucent effect. As it gets closer to the blade, it kind of, the color thins out, which I really appreciate. That makes it look, it's really nice. And kind of have him, whoosh, like that. Jason doesn't actually make that noise. I don't know why I did that. But I'm curious to see how he's going to hold this teddy bear, because this hand's just kind of lurching. And let's see. Oh, it actually fits really well into his hand. Wow. Now, one thing that I will criticize about this figure also is the lack of hands, because this is all you get. You just get one to hold the machete and one kind of reaching out, which, you know, you can fit the teddy bear into. It doesn't fit, it doesn't like snap in, but it rests in there pretty easily. But if you're going to move him around, yeah, eventually it's going to come out. I mean, this lunging hand is kind of cool because you can have him kind of reaching out like this. That looks great. But it's just like, I don't know, it's really weird for me to see a figure like this and not include some other hands. Let's see how he looks compared to Freddy now. If I can get Freddy to stand. I said this before, but man, NECA probably just really wants me to buy their stands because some of these figures is just, man. There we go. I don't really like him leaning. There we go. Yeah, I mean, God, look at that size difference. That is nutty. And it's not too inaccurate because Jason is much taller than Freddy in the film. I believe this is an 8-inch figure. This looks more like, I don't know, 6 or something. No, maybe 7. I'm not sure. But I don't know. This is going to make me sound so unprofessional, but I don't know if NECA ever said or even already did a Ultimate Freddy versus Jason Freddy. I would love if they did, because NECA, with their horror figures especially, have been having a problem with getting them to scale with each other. Like, I have the Michael Myers 2018 design, and that one is like, I believe he's almost as tall as this, which is like, no, Michael is not that big. It's just very strange, especially since they have other Michaels from other Halloween films, and none of them really scale with each other. Robert Englund is about 5'10", so he's already pretty small compared to Jason. Really upset they didn't get Kane Hodder, but they really wanted to emphasize that size difference. And it works for the figures, though I don't know exactly how screen accurate this is. What's a little more upsetting is when I compare him to Ash. Bruce Campbell, about 6'1", and this is a ridiculous size difference, frankly. I think Ash should be taller than Freddy for sure, and then not as tall as Jason, but he should be a good like middle ground. Let's compare these two with each other. See, I think he's even shorter than Freddy here, which that is not right. Bruce Campbell is taller than Robert Englund, and while I understand that these are different series of toys by NECA, I wish that they just had a little bit more consistency in size. And yes, this is the Dream Warriors Freddy. This is one of my favorite designs. I do want to get the Freddy's Revenge one because that, just the accessories it comes with, is insane. But I love this film. It's, besides New Nightmare, is my favorite Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street film. This is not a Freddy Krueger review, though. Sorry, Freddy, I love you. But we're supposed to be talking about Jason here. But you get what I'm saying here. I mean, it's Freddy versus Jason. You gotta have the two of them. So I've got part 4 Jason, and I've got Freddy versus Jason in similar poses. Like, you can just see how much this guy is mogging the other. That is insane. So while it's a shame that he doesn't scale as well with other figures, like, I get it. This is a huge design in the film. And I think NECA did a great job, honestly, with this one. It's not my favorite design, but they did what they could with it, and it's pretty great. The only major criticism I have to say are the fact that the neck and the head are connected, the lack of accessories, especially missing the decapitated Freddy head, which to me, that is an essential accessory. It is one of the most iconic shots of the film. Like, heck, it's the ending of it, you know? And the lack of hands is a little weird, although not too big of a deal because I don't really know what other poses you would really want to do with Jason. The lack of kind of flames around his body, the lack of I mean, obviously they can't just like provide, you know, another body soaked in blood, but it just seems kind of weird to have like the mask here and then nothing else. It just looks a little silly, I think, just the blood on the face. But for what the figure itself is, I think this is great. The look of it, the feel of it, the heaviness, the detail, the weathering, the paint. NECA knocked it out of the park with this one. The head is a little wonky, but that is accurate to the film. It's not a great design to begin with, but you're going to have the mask on pretty much all the time. I think really the most we see of his face for a lot of the film is just kind of like this. And if you just leave it like that, like even that can be pretty menacing if you look at it from the side. But my favorite thing about this figure, just because the head is a lot darker than, say, like the part 4, is you really can barely see his eyes. They just look like these black holes, which I like. This one, you can see a little bit, not too much, but I think this one does a much better job. Yeah, you can barely see those. So yeah, I'm very happy with this figure. You know, I can finally have these two square off. Been wanting that for so long, you have no idea. And while it's not perfect, but for what it is, I mean, like you just cannot argue with this detail. The articulation is good. They nailed the look of the film for better or worse. And for that, I gotta say, I highly recommend this figure. I'm very excited to see what else that NECA can do with Friday the 13th. I also want to take a moment and shout out Big Bad Toy Store for sponsoring this video and for providing me this copy of Freddy vs. Jason. I love those guys. I've been buying from them for so long. I'm very happy to be doing this with them. Highly recommend that service. They're great. They have really great availability. They have both Western and Eastern figures. So if you like Gundam building, if you like Nendoroids, Figmas, all of those, Big Bad Toy Store has them. They've got great shipping plans. I love the pile of loot you can do where you can stack orders so that you can have them all ship out together so you can save on shipping. So definitely check them out. They're my main retailer for NECAs, and hopefully that'll stay that way.